I didn't watch the interview, though. Let's watch the interview. All right, let's do it.
Diablo IV is a love letter to our fans.
I certainly hope so, man. I really do. As long as it's not what I'm concerned about is Diablo IV not being a love letter, but instead being an invoice. And I know they're going to be like, oh, no, we're not going to do that. It's not going to happen. No. It's just not going to be like that. I promise it's not going to be like that. Uh-huh. We'll see.
Focused on this theme of returning to darkness, and we know that when we make a Diablo game, fans have a lot of expectations from D2R and Diablo 3 and previous Diablo experiences that they've enjoyed. So we know that we have a lot of things that really just need to be there, but also bring them into the most modern versions of themselves.
True.
Hi, I'm Joe Shelley, game director for Diablo 4.
And I'm Rod Ferguson, the general manager of the entire...
This is the guy whose tweet I mauled it out on for 30 minutes. What's up, Rod? Well, how you doing, man? Yeah, this is the guy that I got mad about for 30 minutes. We meet again, yep.
Diablo franchise. And we're here today at Blizzard Entertainment, hanging out, and we're going to talk about Diablo 4 and
where I get the hoodie.
The whole franchise.
I want the hoodie.
Diablo 4 is really all about choice, and it really manifests in all different aspects of the game.
One of the things that in the previous Diablo games, they worked with iconics, and so there was this like, oh, you're this barbarian that's known from the history or the lore of the game. And now
I completely agree with what they're going to say about customizing your character. I thought that was dog shit in Diablo 3, I mean, how you couldn't customize your character. I hated that.
Player customization, you create your barbarian.
Fuck
you
yeah.
You can choose what they look like, what gender, hair, makeup, all the stuff that you want to do to really, truly make it your barbarian. And so you can kind of...
Yeah, I think that's great. I actually think that the Diablo Immortal character customizer has been the best Blizzard character customizer they've ever made.
Your own backstory, and then from that you're in and choosing your skills, and you can choose very different skills that that really make it your own. Where sort of like Diablo 3, which is great, but it sort of tied a lot of what you did to your gear, and so if you wanted to change your abilities, you just changed what you had equipped, and that's not the case in D4. I mean, obviously gear is still very important to your build, but it's really about your skill selection that defines you, and then you take those choices into the game. The story is not.
Well, I feel like that's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Here, isn't it, Rod? Like, I mean, what about this, right? Because like that makes, like, if you don't need to have specific spells with specific pieces of gear, then how will gear be interesting? Because most of the time gear interacted with and provided bonuses to certain spells. You see what I'm saying?
So you can choose how to play out the story.
Makes me worry.
You're in a shared open world. You can choose to go exploring instead of doing the story if you want to. You can go anywhere you want within Sanctuary and go do dungeons or go do other things and take on a world boss or go do local event. So you have choice there. And then you have PvE versus PvP. So do you want to go and take on the story, campaign content, or do you want to go and fight other players? And it's one of our sort of PvP areas. And then it's who do you want to play with is a choice, right? You can play solo. It's a great game solo, but you can party up. Everything along the way is really about what you decide you want to do. And so that's why we talk about D4 is about choice, is because pretty much every step along the process, there's some things that you have agency over and you can decide how you want to play the game.
I love how in like Lost Ark you have Guardians and you can fight against Guardians solo or you can do it with a party. Personally, I would love if they had like 4-player challenges in Diablo 4 that were like really hard. But Diablo 4 is like not a MMO, so that probably shouldn't even happen. But I just really hope they have really hard capstone challenges. Like soloing Vultan or Velganos or Verdas whenever I was in Tier 1, right? Like, I really, really love that. Because, like, that's what really gets me excited about PoE, is to know that I'm working towards that next threshold, right? Killing Shaper, Cortex, Maven, fucking Cirrus, Conquerors, all that stuff. I want to have that next thing, and that next, also really important, new boss that, like, I have to go up against, and he is a motherfucker. And, like, that's why I'm gearing. Like, what I'm saying is, like, I want a reason to get gear. Like, not I'm getting gear to get gear. No, I want a reason. I want a name for that reason to get gear.
All of the classes in Diablo 4 have this sort of unique feature that's unique to just that class. And the Necromancer is the Book of the Dead, where you decide, oh, I can have skeleton warriors. What kind of skeleton warriors do I want? Do I want aggressive, defensive? Do I want ones that create corpses for me to use as sort of raw materials? And then, oh, you can have mages. Okay, what kind of mages do I want to use? And oh, I can have golem. What kind of golem do I want to use? And so you can mix and match your warriors.
That's interesting. I mean, that's effectively what you have with PoE, right? Is like you have fucking, what's that shit that's like 2C? The fucking the gem that turns them into skeleton mages. I forgot what it's called. And then like you also have like the gem, the Jewels Last Epoch. No, that's not. That's a game. I forgot what the name of it. Dead Reckoning. Yeah, Dead Reckoning. There it is. And then also you have, like, for example, like you have, I think it's Meat Shield that makes the your guardians or like your minions that are defensive and they protect you whenever you get attacked. And then you also have you know, like Raging Spirits, like summon Raging Spirits. Like they're super aggressive, and so you can get a gem. I think it's like a Primordial Might or something like that makes golems aggressive. So basically, like Diablo 4 is taking a lot of the ideas really that PoE has, and they're just making it to where you can click a button and toggle them on and off. Feeding Frenzy is the gem. Primordial Might is like one of the other. Primordial Might does it for like golems, and Feeding Frenzy does it for like the one that's empowered by that gem. It's a jewel,
yeah. Golem to really create,
that's a good idea.
Customize the army that you have with you, and you never really had that experience before.
It's a gem, not jewel. Bro,
and that's what really is one of the things that makes the new Necro really unique and interesting. I like to talk about Diablo 4 being the culmination of the franchise because it wants to respect the past. Like and so when you look at kind of what.
Can I be honest?
Really unique and interesting. I like to talk about Diablo 4.
Look at the way the character moves. Look how slow it is. Like,
or being the culmination of the franchise because it wants to respect the past. Like and so when you
I don't know, like it's just you
look at
it'll get faster.
What goes into Diablo 4. I like to use the formula that it feels like it's the dark.
Like this looks good.
Diablo 1.
This looks good gameplay.
It's the progression of Diablo 2. It's the visceral combat of Diablo 3. And then it has its own unique innovations in Diablo 4 with the shared open world and all the things we talked about with player choice.
I think there are ways that
straight up like that. I like that. Everything he just said, I agree with. I am on board with everything he just said.
There are lots of ways that we've looked at lessons learned from previous games too. You know,
Diablo
one of the great
I'm
innovations
not. I didn't
we
play
made
Diablo
with,
2.
Legendary
I'm
items.
a Diablo 3
and again, speaking to that idea of having multiple builds available.
Sorry, I was talking over him.
Legendary items, and again, speaking to that idea of having multiple builds available, is that you can take legendary power off an item and move it to another item, so it really opens up the ability to customize your gear.
We don't talk about that enough. You know, in previous games, you would pick up a shield that have this thing that would make, like, can now summon 2 more skeleton mages, and you're like, oh, I have to keep this for as long as possible. My build needs those 2 extra mages.
Yeah.
And eventually your level would outpace it, and you're like, I don't want to give up the shield. I'm going to carry this shield even though it's weak because I want this ability. And now in Diablo 4, you can actually extract that off the shield, get a new legendary that's at your level, and put that onto it. And so that idea of being able to hold on to your build and be able to truly customize your character by taking legendary powers, extracting them from one thing and imbuing them into another, that fundamentally changes the build system.
That's really big, honestly. Like, I feel like what I worry about with that, I think it's a good idea. They should do this. But like, for example, I feel like, yeah, it's like for free. Like, yeah. So it's like, would this hurt like item progression and make item progression more flat where you don't really get like a big bonus item? I don't know. I think that like Diablo 4 is going to live and die on like 2 or 3 things. Itemization. Itemization in PoE is why the game doesn't die. It's because the itemization has so much depth and there's so much into it, and like character customization is that you can literally, like, I will watch a 30-minute video of a build guide and the only thing the guy shows is a fucking spreadsheet. That's it. And that's why people get invested into it. I don't think Diablo 4 should do the exact same thing. I don't think it should be that in depth because PoE already does that and they do it way better. But Diablo 4 should have simpler decisions that still have very big impacts. On top of that, it has to do with the end game, right? But mainly what I'm talking about here is the items have to be really compelling and really interesting and fun to use, and acquiring them has to feel really good. Like, getting a really good item in the original Diablo 3 was like, you would bust a fucking nut if you dropped a ring that had crit chance, crit damage, and attack speed on it. Like, holy shit, because you knew that would sell.
So one of the things that's really exciting about Diablo IV is that because we have this shared open world that exists as a template, the dungeons are actually in places in the world that you're going to explore, and those gives those
Are they open
dungeons a real
world?
sense of place. So when you go into a particular dungeon, you're going to see the tile set that's associated with that dungeon.
Yeah.
That type of art. And we have a wide variety of art.
I like that.
For these.
Cool.
And you're also going to see the monsters that live in it. But
yeah,
when the dungeon rolls, it is randomly generated within those parameters. The monsters will be differently configured.
Well, I think that's common sense, right? It's the same as like whenever, like, I would do Act 1 butcher runs a lot because I was too shitty to do Act 3 for a while. And every time that you would do it, it would be a little bit different. Like, you would have an idea of what the layout was going to be, but it's like you had different tile sets every single time. Yeah, it's just like Diablo 3.
You're going to see different champions, you're going to see different affixes, and you're going to see a different layout for that dungeon. On top of that...
So it's the same thing that you guys have been doing. Okay.
Each dungeon has a dungeon objective. So when you go in, you might have an objective to slay a boss, but you might have an objective to track down 3 fallen idols and disable them. And so the completion objective for the dungeon is unique to each dungeon as well.
I think that one of the problems with Torghast is that whenever the main thing I don't like about Torghast right now is that you have to kill every single mob in order to get like 100% completion if you want to go for 5-star. I don't like that. I hope that they don't go down the route of trying to make the player kill everything or go down different nooks and crannies they would not necessarily go down in order to fulfill some bonus objective that just makes the player explore. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, for example, like in Path of Exile, you never really want to do that because there's a lot of like interest in each different map, etc. But I just really worry about like having to feel like you need to explore all these different areas and it turning into like a time-wasting activity. Yeah, looking for the last mob or something like that. Yeah, looking for the last, you know, like fetish totem or something like that. It's like, oh, fuck, right? I've got to run around like 2 or 3 times. Very annoying. Theoretically cool. In practice, after the first 5 maps, it's fucking annoying.
And one of the things I really like when we play is that you go in and you don't know the objective. Like, there's not some magical person at the door telling you, by the way, the reason how you complete this is like you have to go in and discover the objective, which is really fun. And the dungeons actually play really well into our end game, right? Where you now not only do you have the dungeons that you're doing when you're playing through the campaign regularly for, say, new gear or a particular thing, but at the end, all of a sudden, you have nightmare dungeons. Where did you want to talk a little bit about like the sigils and that?
You can upgrade the dungeons with these sigils to make them nightmare dungeons, and they become more dangerous. Additional affixes are applied to them that make the monsters more dangerous, or can even give you advantages.
Right.
And when you're getting these sigils, you'll get a wide variety of sigils with.
I really like the idea that the players actually get something out of it as well. Where it's not like, oh, all you do is you lose stuff. I like how you actually get positive things as well. They're like crests, yeah. They're the eternal legendary crests. How much for them? You're going to have to find out. It's a surprise.
All kinds of different affixes on them. So there's, once again, player choice in which sigils you want to do. And if you get a sigil that is for a dungeon that, you know, is not as, you don't think is well suited to your class, you just skip that one and do a different one.
Nightmare Dungeons.
Skip that one. How about sell it, bro? Because like I don't want to have to fucking skip shit. I want to be able to sell it. Whenever I get something really good for another class, and it's not good for me, I want to still feel like I got something good. Like, why would you? I mean, just skip, bro. Like, what about selling it? Why they didn't talk about this?
Part of our take on rifts, and so if you've played the previous like Diablo 3. There's you know a thing in town and you just go to it and it opens a portal and off you go and you're just standing in town going to it over and over. And now we have these nightmare dungeons which is kind of like running a rift in a way, but it has a sense of place. So now you have keys, and so Joe has sigils, I have sigils, and we're like, okay, where do we want to go? Like, we have to go somewhere now, and like, okay, let's mount up, get on our horses, and we're going to ride west, and because that dungeon has a particular type of loot that we want to have, or a type of gear that we want to get.
I don't really see as much value in that as maybe they perceive. I think that getting on the horse and riding over there, I think that you should have to do that. Like, you can make an argument that like maybe you should have to do that for like the really hard versions, right? Just to make it more of an endeavor, right? But like to add RP to it. But the truth is, like, WoW doesn't really have that. You know, you got summoning stones. Lost Ark doesn't have that at all. Final Fantasy doesn't have that at all. Path of Exile doesn't have that at all. You just do it through the map device 9 times out of 10. It's just, dude, it's not an MMO. Why would that matter? Like, Path of Exile isn't an MMO either. All I'm saying is that adding unnecessary travel time to something does not make it a better experience. Diablo 3 was not bad because you did rifts in the city all day. Diablo 3 was bad because you did rifts all day. Does that make sense? That's why it was bad.
And so I love that
New
feeling
World
of
tried
place
that.
and not just grabbing a portal in town every time.
We know that it's fun to build your character and discover all these powerful builds. And we also think it's really important to have content to test yourself against. So we've really tried to expand the variety of activities. And you know, as Rod said, the game, you know, when you finish the campaign, you might be level 45 or something.
Okay.
Your character level goes up to 100 through, through Paragon points, and you get access to Whispers, you get access to Nightmare Dungeons, other endgame activities that we're still working on.
Okay.
We really wanted you to have a wide variety of things to do. And of course, you've got world tiers that are allowing you to step up make sure that the difficulty of the world stays on pace with the power of your character level.
How do you guys feel about that? Like, because there's a part of me that likes that, and there's also a part of me that's like, I like being able to go back to a boss that I fought before and just one-shot him. You know, like, I do. I like that. And it's just like, I'll wait to see what the game is like, right? But it's like you don't get that point where, like, for example, you remember back in like Diablo 3, did any of you guys have like a really, really good character in Diablo 3 and you could do Inferno and just fucking like pretty much like one phase Diablo and like just one like kind of combo of attacks, or like fucking kill the butcher in like 3 or 4 seconds? That was so fucking fun, right? And so you still need to make sure people can get to that level. I think that's super important with a Diablo game. Same with PoE, right? Like, that's what I love watching, like, speed kills for bosses.
And to unlock those, you actually need to complete a dungeon to access that more difficult content. So it goes back to that idea of making a build, making it powerful, and then testing yourself against some challenge.
And the Paragon point, like, so a Paragon system, if you play D3, you know the Paragon system
we know about
Diablo 3, but it was just basically sliders and on a couple of different aspects of your character. In Diablo 4,
the Paragon system wasn't bad. The reason why it turned into being bad is because the scaling got so high that all of the Paragon levels were a formality.
An actual board. Think of it as a checkerboard. It's
Holy
much more
shit.
granular than that, but for simplicity's sake, I'll say a checkerboard. And you have to navigate your way by sort of unlocking squares as you move across the board. And each of those squares could be +5 strength, or a different ability, or something that enhances your skills.
Yeah.
And so you're able to click these different boards together and make your own path through. So that's
more
well, one of the things we really like about Diablo 4 is that even if Joe and I both were creating a barbarian, and even if we both wanted to be whirlwind barbarians as an example,
I like that.
we could still have completely different builds, and that's what really makes, I think, Diablo 4 unique, is that we're not ending up at the same place. You know, there's a lot of games that when you're done, everybody's the same, and that's not the case in D4. And so I think people are going to love the new Paragon system. That idea is so much more rich.
I'm really worried about that being the case. And like, I think every game has this happen. It's like, and like PoE is no better than this. Like, if you go to PoE Ninja, like, I'm just going to show you real quick, okay? PoE.ninja. Let me show you guys. And this is just what the builds. So, like, 21% of people are champions, 0.6% of people are tricksters, 19% are necromancers, 0.8 are assassins. So, what does that mean? That means that metas are formed in literally every single game. Hardcore League. Let me see. Can I change hardcore? Oh, it's just Sentinel. Okay, yeah, let me change it. Oh, it's even worse. Inquisitors 20 and Tricksters 0.2. So you're always gonna have metas, etc. I don't think that the goal that they should be to not have metas. The goal should be to have the game evolving regularly, that metas change.
Richer than we've ever had before as a Paragon system. And it really, when you see what it can do to your character, you really want to find that optimal path across the board. And then when you go to connect the next board, you can actually rotate it to pick the path you want to go through. Like, it's a really cool system.
There are also glyphs that you can socket into the board, and you can upgrade those
cool.
By completing Nightmare Dungeons. So
I like that.
Really,
yeah, that's
a lot
cool.
of diversity available within the builds themselves. And because Diablo IV as a live service will be continuing to balance the game so that we can make sure that there are always a variety of builds that are viable and you're not focused into only one.
That is very reassuring to hear. Now, it will be more reassuring to actually see. We'll see if that happens. But yes, that's super important for them to do, to just be continuously changing things up. I don't know if they're going to have like seasons with like a full gear reset or what. I'm not really sure yet. I don't know if they're sure yet. Probably depends on what happens on release. A ladder, yeah.
There's a lot that we're looking at doing for post-launch. Like, we have a lot of plans when you think about in terms of seasons, but not the way that seasons are for Diablo 3. There's a sort of a twist on that. And we do want to continue to expand that world and tell new stories and continue to tell stories that are happening within Sanctuary. So I think people are going to be really excited about, you know, what kinds of content and features and things they'll be able to do post-launch. Because that's one of the things we really learned a lot. I think a lesson from Diablo 3 is that we've had, you know, like I said, we've had great success with the seasons in Diablo 3, where still millions of players come back and play for hundreds of millions of hours, but we know that they want more, and that's what I really feel great about.
Yeah, people want new content out of the seasons. I think that's a really big factor. Like, that's certainly what I want. I want a lot of new content out of the season, same as I get in PoE or another game like that. The main concern that I have really is, like, if you want to make it like a live game and like you continuously update this game, etc., what I'm worried about, I'm going to be honest, I'm worried about it being pay to win. And I'm just going to come out there and say it. I know they've said that it's focused around cosmetics, but who's to say you can't sell the cosmetics? Who's to say you can't buy and sell gear on an auction house? Who's to say you can't buy and sell gems, right? There's always going to be some sort of a way for that to happen. I am so fucking paranoid about that, especially after Diablo Immortal. I'm okay with them selling cosmetics. If this is a one-time purchase that they are continually updating, I think that it is unreasonable for people to not expect them to sell cosmetics. But if these cosmetics have any sort of a in-game advantage, right? Whether it be 1% strength, the same as they have like even virtue points in Lost Ark. I don't want to see any of that, right? Yeah, who cares about cosmetics? I do care about them, but it's just a reality of game development. It's just a reality.
So much Diablo is coming now is that we're actually able to sort of help satiate some of the fan desires. And what they're really going to get at Diablo 4 is not only a great launch, but a very rich post-launch. All right, Joe, thanks for hanging out, talking about D4 and the franchise.
That's what I'm really curious about.
That's it from us. So I hope you stay tuned. We have lots of stuff to talk about coming up, especially, more D4.
That's great. Cosmetics just means non-shop armors will not look good. PoE has that. Like, would I care? Like, here are the things. I would actually not, like, I've spent probably at least a few $100s on PoE. Like, throughout my entire, 10 years of playing the game. I don't regret that. I have no problem every once in a while buying a cosmetic pack for Diablo 4 if they bring out something that looks really cool. I don't care about that. It's not a big deal to me. Is it something that I would prefer didn't exist? Yes, it is. I wish you could get everything in game, etc. However, if you're not charging money, you have to fucking get the money somehow. So yeah, I mean, if you want to pay people to keep making a game, yeah, sure, you can keep doing that. It's fine. And like, am I the same way? Of course, you're a millionaire. You don't need to be a millionaire to buy fucking a $5 fucking skin, man. They're $20 nowadays. Well, let's say it's $20. There's a lot of people that can afford $20. All I'm really trying to get at here is that Diablo IV, I would have no problem supporting the game in the same way that I support PoE by occasionally buying microtransaction stuff. But I don't want the microtransactions to be cannibalistic towards the base game. And I also want the content to be released and new content to be released regularly. My main concern with Diablo IV is that the game will have only like a surface level of customization, and it will also not have an expansive end game, and it will not be properly maintained. Those are and it will be pay to win in like some abstract way. Like, those are the main things that I'm worried about. That's where I'm at. What do you guys think about that? Check out Path of Exile microtransaction packs. I've seen a lot. Our experience booster is okay. I would prefer if they did not do that. Buying cosmetics is understandable. Buying things that negate the amount of time others have put into grinding is bad. Yeah, I think that's the main thing. It's like, if you have an option, basically, like, here's what the problem is whenever you have the option to, you can do this in game or you can buy it, it provides a profit incentive for the developer to keep the end game option bad because it incentivizes more people to spend money. So whenever you have pay to skip mechanics provide a profit incentive for a developer not to improve their game. So that's what really worries me. I'll look at a few more of these here and a few more of these trailers, and then afterwards we'll watch the well, actually, I said watch the Amber Heard interview. We'll watch that in just a few minutes, okay? But let me do this. No way executives will accept minimizing short-term profit just to keep the game healthy. We'll see what happens. It'd be worrisome if you could trade cosmetics for non-cosmetic in-game items. Exactly. Oh my God, there's a lot of them. Time is a hidden currency. Exactly. So if you can negate time, I think that's the worst thing, right? And I like Lost Ark has this. Many games have this in its Sucks Tubes video. Yeah, we'll get to that, okay? Very same problem with cosmetic boxes. Gives an incentive for developers to focus on developing skins instead of actual content. I agree with you, but I think the people that are developing skins are like art developers, and the people that are developing actual content are like, it's a different job title, basically. So it's like, it's true, but not entirely. This is a 4K trailer.
Diablo IV is the next generation of action RPG, melding monster slaying and loot collecting with a fully realized open world.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's gory and unnerving. It's creepy.
Diablo IV is all about player choice.
It takes all of the
I think
pillars
that part's
of the Diablo
cool.
game and just expands
I like
them
that weapon.
with all of the new features that people really love and appreciate in modern games.
That's the druid, obviously.
Whoever you see yourself being, you can create in Diablo IV.
It's important to include...
See, I always wonder, like, what's the day-to-day? Like, that's kind of, that's always the way I feel about games. It's like, I feel like Diablo 4 will be fun to play for at least a week or two. Definitely. But, like, what about, like, a month after the game comes out? Like, is this a game that, like, I can expect to play continuously? Or is this, like, a one and done? And, like, a one and done is fine. But, like, I just want to know.
Plus character customization, because then I can play the fantasy that I want to play. It allows you to switch around your playstyle as well.
I think that's cool. It freezes them, then it kills them.
Feels very powerful and fun.
I'm so worried about it being
having
bad.
an open world is your journey that you take throughout Diablo 4 is your own. There's no
I think an open world is super important, but I hope that what they don't do is that what they did with fucking Diablo Immortal, where there are servers. Like Blizzard, there doesn't need to be any fucking servers. You can have like clusters and shit, But in my opinion, I think auction houses and everything like that should be completely universal. Like auction houses, you should be able to, like, if you go on the auction house on one area, you should have the auction house everywhere. You know, it should be like a region-wide thing.
The path that you have to
Yeah, I don't want people to be on a dead
almost
server, man.
50 dungeons in the game.
That's what I worry about.
There's all kinds of surprises as you're exploring.
Strongholds are an enemy territory that you
That's
need to
cool.
reclaim.
You might have a space that begins as a hostile area,
Yeah.
but after you've cleared it out,
The evil in this place has been cleansed.
it now becomes a friendly town.
I feel like I'm clearing out the mud flats again,
Sometimes
whatever
it's
that
a new
place is in
town,
PoE.
Sometimes it's a new dungeon. There's a whole bunch of rewards that you get, and you have
Like
a
that
real
dungeon,
impact on the
like,
world as
just a
result.
sec. Fuck. That looks like, I'm gonna be real. Like, I've been super negative about Diablo IV, but that looks really cool, man. That looks really cool. Like the aesthetic of it and everything, I like it a lot.
Bunch of rewards that you get, and you have a real impact on the world as a result.
I will say that, like, my complaints and concerns with Diablo IV, none of them have to do with the aesthetics. I think that most people, almost everybody I've talked to, has agreed on the aesthetics and the way that the game looks is perfect. I love it.
No, you can't leave us here. They might come back any moment.
Local events are really cool little story segments that happen within the open world.
You'll just be running through the world, and then a local event will pop up, and you can choose to participate in it.
It's a fate.
Get a group together and just wail on these like giant world bosses. Or get a group together and just wail on these like giant world bosses. Or get a group together and just wail on these like giant world bosses.
Okay.
These are events that take a lot
Maybe
of
I'll play
people,
it.
and you really have to work together.
Yeah, maybe I'll play it. It's not gonna be that bad.
To see all the players on your screen collaborating, trying to take this big monster down. It's epic.
I can't imagine these fights being anything more than a target dummy. That's my opinion. Like, I expect that these fights are just gonna be like a WoW world boss, or like a Lost Ark world boss, or like it's a health sponge, like every other game. Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking too. And maybe there's like hard modes for them. Well, the thing is, like, it's really hard to make a boss like this whenever anybody can come in and help you, and it's not limited to the amount of people, right? Like, how do you tune a boss that like 5 people or 55 people can fight, you know?
It's so easy to create a community. It makes Diablo more of a social experience.
I really agree with that. Thank you, Emerald. I completely agree. The fact is that seeing other people out in the world in Diablo Immortal is cool too. Like, I'll admit, like, it's a cool thing. It's great. I hope that they do more of this. I love having open worlds where you can explore with other people and you see other people playing the game. In my opinion, I think it's necessary. That's why I love online gaming.
We've got fully enabled crossplay.
If you have an Xbox and your buddy has a PC, you're going to be able to group up.
Or you could play couch co-op.
That should be the norm. Every game now, like, I hope that every game that comes out where it's possible, not every game, it's realistically not possible with every game, but for all the games that it is possible, I hope that every single one of them are completely compatible crossplay. Like Xbox, PC, PS4, PS5, you can play, do whatever you want.
2 people on a couch can sit there and have a great experience.
Yep, I like that too.
We've created specific zones where players can engage in PvP.
Uh-oh.
If you go there, you can start swinging away at people.
Uh-oh.
But you're also opening yourself up to being swung at.
Oh, shit, really? Damn, bro, is that how it works?
Really, really good. The game actually marks you as like...
Bro, somebody been playing Elden Ring.
If you're like really, really
Y'all
good.
see that? Y'all see that Radon shit right there? Good. Good.
The game actually marks you as like a champion on the map. you basically become a loot pinata, and everyone wants to chase you down.
I hope that they make the PvE good. I don't really like Diablo, like PvP, like, yeah, they could balance it pretty well, but like, I don't want them to like overbalance the game. I want you to have like, if you have really good gear in the game, I feel like Diablo is a game. It's like they should have arenas where like people are pretty much standardized, but like out in the open world, you should be able to deep dick people. I think so.
That story mission is really the
but only out in the world, like not for like any
part
sort of
the
like
journey.
serious like
Now you're set
important
up
shit.
for the end game, and that end game is rich with things to do that allow you to get more and more powerful.
See, that's what I'm worried about, is the end game with Diablo IV. I am so worried that the end game is going to be, there's like, there's 150 dungeons, and there's really only 6 that you want to do, and you just run those 6 until you quit the game. That's what my concern is. And those 6 have the same different things over and over and over. It's going to be rifts, yeah. Like, Diablo 3's endgame is so fucking terrible, it makes me sick to think about it. If I go back and I think of, like, why is a game like Lost Ark a good game? Why is a game like World of Warcraft a good game? Why do I enjoy those games, Final Fantasy? It's because it provides you with, like, a very large breadth of content that you can do, right? You can do crafting, gathering, world quests, raids. Like, you can do all this different kind of stuff, right? Like mount farming, etc. Like farming for, like, rare items and shit like that. And like, completionism content. I feel like with Diablo 3, there was, like, only one thing to do at the end game. And that was it. And, like, Path of Exile did a great job with this, too. Like, the gameplay that you get out of, let's say, doing Delve is very different than the gameplay that you get out of, let's say, doing Heist, which is very different than you get out of doing Uber Elder, or running special, like, maps, or, trying to collect divination cards, or anything, right? Like, so the more different types of gameplay you have, in my opinion, the better kind of game, because you give people more different things they can cycle through before they burn themselves out.
Whether it's new items or new dungeons or new Paragon boards, every single time you come back to play Diablo 4, there's going to be new stuff for you to experience.
It's like, y'all saw this talent tree, right? I mean, like, this looks really cool. I don't know what this is going to be. I have no idea. Like, I'm not going to get too excited about something like this, but it does look cool.
Every single time you come back to play Diablo 4, there's going to be new stuff for you to experience.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're going to support for years to come.
That's the lie that I'm worried about. I think that that's what is not going to happen. I'm so worried about Diablo 4 coming out and the reception for it being mediocre or it being really good. And then, sorry, I had it's in my fucking mouth. And then, like, after the reception is, like, pretty good, then the game just kind of tapers off. You know, they release, like, a few, like, meaningless content updates that, like, doesn't really... It's like it gives you a reason. It's like, oh, you didn't like doing all 6 dungeons over and over again? Well, this week, then now it's going to be a rotation of all 6 of the 150 dungeons. You just run those over and over again. It's like there's no real, like, dynamic gameplay changes that happen. And that's what I would really like to see change. I think that's what Path of Exile has mastered over the years. And that's what a lot of successful, like, continuous online games have, is very, very different breadths of content.
I'm really excited
Giant
for
Deadman
folks
suit
to
again?
get their hands on
Remind me
Diablo
after
4.
this.
Just to see millions of people really enjoying the different options.
Through the campaign,
local events,
couch co-op,
Endgame.
PvP, it almost doesn't end.
And we are so close.
Man, it's a developer interview. I didn't watch this. I want to watch this. It's coming out next year, man. I really hope that they listen to people in the community about, like, feedback and shit. And I also really hope that they don't have in, like, microtransaction bullshit. I'm gonna watch this. See, like, this is what I thought about it, right? Like, that was my face, bro. Oh, what the fuck? That's, oh, it didn't even work. That was my face. I put out a video about this day it came out. Will we get PoE 2 first? I have no idea. I will say that everything that I've seen about this game is very appealing to me visually. I actually like it a lot. I love how they blended religion and mythology. I find it to be very compelling and very interesting. I'm super excited about it. But the truth is, I am probably more excited about PoE because PoE has had a better track, PoE 2 has had a better track record of listening to the players and developing a dynamic game. Blizzard has not done that.